Now for business updates across the globe, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Morning, Doctor. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. I think we're going to start in Europe. Christine Lagarde, the European Central Bank, hiking rates by 25 basis points. What is this now? 22-year high. She still forecasts. This is the interesting thing. They forecast inflation to keep rising in the Eurozone because of energy, food prices, and then they're also forecasting a deceleration in the economic growth. So what do you have when you have rising inflation, slowing economy? I think unemployment is not bad, but Europe could be heading for stagflation, possibly. So things are a bit sticky there. ARM, or ARM, I keep saying ARM, sorry. That's an investment, ARM, the UK chip maker, had a successful debut on the NASDAQ yesterday. Shares popped 25%. The proceeds of almost $5 billion. They are, valued at about $54 billion. IPOs haven't been that, heavy and not that many on the US markets because of inflation rising and all these other things. But successful debut for them. Again, chips, electric vehicles, that's where the future is. There is we talk about unions, a massive strike on its way in the United States. The UAW auto workers have decided these are warning strikes, right? So they've targeted 3 particular areas in the United States. So Wayne, Michigan, Ford's plant there, Wentzville, Missouri, or Mozora, as some people like to pronounce it, for General Motors, and then Stellantis in Toledo, Ohio. So they have a number of demands. They are saying they want these demands. 36% pay increase. Prior to that, it was 40%. They now want a reduced work week of 4 days, 32 hours. They want to shift back to traditional pensions. They want to eliminate compensation tiers. So they're saying, no, don't compensate me based on my level. Give me the compensation outright. And they want restoration of cost of living adjustments. Now, what are the companies saying? Okay, here we go. So they're looking for that 36% increase in pay. Ford is offering 20%, GM offering 18%, Stellantis offering 17.5%. They are ahead. The leader, who I understand has been talking to Joe Biden over the last few days, says this is our generation's defining moments. The money is there. Unions love saying it. The cause is righteous. The world is watching, and the UAW is ready to stand up. So Sean Fain is the president. Now, here's what Ford is saying. Jim Farley says, if we signed up for the UAW's request, the average pay would be $300,000 per employee. He said we would have lost 15 billion and gone bankrupt by now. I tell you, unions from the unions here, they're all the same. Unions in America, unions in the UK, Nigeria, they just make these outrageous demands that will just destroy companies. But anyway, it's tough for Joe Biden because he's called himself a union president. He says he supports unions. He has an election coming up next year, so this is really tight for him. Behind the sidelines, he's trying to tell them that they should, negotiate. By the way, they have a strike fund. Did you know that? They have a fund where they keep paying salaries while their workers go on strike. So this is something that folks should take lessons from. All right. From there, we move to WhatsApp. WhatsApp, or Meta particularly, is looking at exploring ads for WhatsApp. Although there's some the Financial Times reporting this morning. There's some factions. Some think it's not going to be a good idea. I don't want to see ads on WhatsApp, but Meta is looking for revenue right now. They're trying to monetize it. Look, what can we say about WhatsApp? The thing is it's incredible, right? As far as I sometimes produce my own program on WhatsApp when I'm talking to producers and graphics designers and so on. Everything happens here, and it's, as far as I'm concerned,
you don't pay for
killed,
it's free.
Almost killed email. But so we'll see whether you start to see targeted ads in WhatsApp going forward. All right, Doctor was talking about Kenya. Kenya is back. William Ruto is in America. Everybody's looking for money. He was off to the US, to Chicago and San Francisco for the US-Kenya Business Roadshow. He's seeking venture capital for Kenya's tech ecosystem. Here's a quote from him, where he said that we aim to combine the opportunities in Silicon Valley with those in Silicon Savannah, right here in Kenya. We believe there's a lot we can learn from Silicon Valley, just as we have much to offer them, especially in the opportunities that exist not only in Kenya, but also across the African continent. So everybody is looking for that US dollar for their particular countries. I think is it Egypt now? I think, Stellantis, which is of course embroiled in that union fight in the United States, they are planning $160 million investment in South Africa Nigeria's automobile sector. They want to open up some new factories there. As much all the problems South Africa is facing, investment is still coming in. Ford is there. A number of other automakers are there. South Africa exports vehicles. So this is yet another investment. I think we go to Egypt now. Egypt, again, another lesson for Nigeria. Egypt has planned to sell assets to raise money. That's another way to try and get dollars in. So they sold initially about 162 million shares of Telkom Egypt back in May. They took off, they got them about 3.7 billion Egyptian pounds. They still own a 70% stake and they want to sell more. So they are eyeing 5 billion in total for selling. I mean, they are one of their largest tobacco firms. They're looking at selling a stake there as well. I was at the mall yesterday and guess what? I saw a Tesla Model X on sale. So this is now following the electric vehicle charging station that I saw in Victoria Island. This now is from new dealership that is selling. Oh, it's a 2018 model and the price is just kind of crazy.
How much is it?
It's 130 million, but it's
in US.
In the US is 80, about 82. But in
$82,000.
And if you convert at 940, that's about 80 million. So that 50 million, if that includes your import duties, maybe tax, but that is a crazy amount, especially for a used vehicle. But it comes with its own charging port.
Is it a used vehicle?
Well, I think that might be, it's a 2018, so it's 5 years old, right? So I'm not sure if it's, it's got about 50,000 mileage on it, so it's used.
Okay.
So anyway, Lumi Adevie, our colleague in Abuja, we were talking about this morning.
Buying Tesla?
No, not his buying. No, this is his son. So shout out to Lumi. I got his permission to use this image. His son is at a new electric vehicle experience center in Abuja. Yeah. So he sent me this pic. That's a Tesla that I had to take out the license plate, so we don't know whose car that is. Yeah. So anyway, his son told him about it. He took him there, and basically Abuja also has this electric vehicle center. There's even an electric vehicle taxi that is soon to be launched. So look, between what we're seeing in Lagos, between what we're seeing, again, it's still Lagos and Abuja leading these things. You don't see, we just had somebody from Plateau State a few minutes ago. I don't see this elsewhere, but there are baby steps, right? Nigeria is taking baby steps. And to finally end on that note, you were all talking about why Nigeria is poor. Well, Nigeria is poor because you don't have power. You cannot deliver economic growth or raise people out of poverty if you don't have power supply. So until we solve that issue, there's just going to be continued problems because of the impact that it has.
I mean, very well said. So let's not scare people away from electric cars. You don't really have to buy Tesla. There are many other models that are way cheaper than that amount, and you can get a very good deal with a very good.
Thank you for that tip. Doctor is looking to go to that mall to buy the Tesla car.
You don't necessarily afford it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Tesla, right? So you can get other cheaper models, and there are some that are made here or assembled here, I should say.
There was that one in Lagos, right?
Yeah, a particular corner one by Kia has assembled here, and you can
that
also.
One's about 25-30 million though.
25-30
million.
The good thing about the market is as it goes on over the years, you will have second-hand markets, and definitely, you never know. I think the main catch is Nigerian car producers should start producing the likes of Nord, the likes of Innoson, and the likes. These guys can produce electric cars.
Look at the Stellantis investment in South Africa. $160 million.
So it's just about that and producing the ecosystem. Another thing about the unions, yes, some unions can be very overbearing sometimes, but unions are also good.
And the UAW, right? Okay.
Yeah, but in Nigeria's regard, what the NLC is asking for is well within their rights. All right, so I don't think comparing them to a union that is asking for an arm and a leg over 300,000, the economies are different. What the NLC is asking, they're just asking for the government to negotiate with them in good conscience, in good faith. Yeah. And let us see how we can even show up the minimum wage. That is either to very low. Let me tell you why what the union is asking for is right. Rotus, in the early 1980s in this country, Nigerian unions negotiated a landmark deal with Shehu Shagari. And I think they benchmarked the minimum wage at about 250 naira. 250 naira then was about $250. That's the 1980s. Your minimum wage today in Nigeria is not up to $100. 30,000 naira in USD. So an average Nigerian worker had a better wage level in the early 1980s than it is 40 years after. So the life of an average Nigerian worker has gotten worse of 40 years after. And that's why we must all support the NLC in their cry for new minimum wage.
One quick response. Also, government finances have gotten a lot worse from the 1980s to today. A dollar was one naira was equal to $1 in 1980.
Yeah.
It's 936. Plus, you have 70 trillion naira in debts. How do you do it?
So is it the union that will take the beating?
Well, the government can afford it. That's the problem.
The union that will take the beating for it.
All right, okay.
Is it the union?
Are you going to pay for
Very
it?
quickly, let me come in here.
There's no money.
There's
no money.
I wish we had tapped into this EV idea when Senator Ben Murray Bruce, the common sense senator,
who doesn't eat European chocolates,
and it was laughed off, when he brought up the idea of EV.
But he was correct.
Yeah, he was. That's what I'm saying. I wish we had, had tapped into that many years ago, but it's never too late. The best time to start is, now. Well, the best time to start was then, but the second best time to start is now. So hopefully, but the cost though, I don't know how that would work. And then you put that side by side with our challenge with power, reminding us that after 400 consecutive days of uninterrupted power supply and no national grid collapse, yesterday the national grid collapsed again. And it was quite, it had been praised for in the past where we had like in a matter of 1 year, we had 6 grid collapses and then 400 consecutive days, that's about 10 months, nothing of the sort had happened, and yesterday just broke that record. Very unfortunate. It's how to begin to solve the issue of power in our nation. It almost seems like it is an impossible task. But I mean, all African nations and any serious nation that wants to attract investment and improve the lot in terms of poverty alleviation must tackle power, like you said. It just seems like I don't know where we're going to start from.
Okay, on electric cars, yes, it was Senator Ben Murray Bruce who first brought it to our consciousness. At that time, people laughed it off. They said, what's wrong with Ben Murray Bruce? I don't know whether he still has that is electric car. Yeah. But you've raised the point legitimately about power, about electricity, charging points, and all of that. But we live in the age of innovation. You can't write anything off. Many of the cheaper electric cars in Europe and elsewhere will eventually find their ways into Nigeria. But the issue is, are we prepared in terms of skills? Look at what happened to vehicle repair and all of that. Many of these vehicles were brought here. They've become far more digital. Right. Many of our mechanics who learned, vehicle repair with Volkswagen and Datsun, they don't understand that you can use a computer, to read whatever fault is in a car. So we're far behind. So the pace at which we're meeting up with the challenges, we seem to be a bit far behind. Yeah. And which is why it is very tragic that these trade and technical schools that used to provide technical skills for a certain cadre of Nigerians, no longer exist or have become, moribund, more or less, to put it in a more modest manner. Okay, the thing about the IPO of ARM is that, it energized the space. Stocks went up, the banking sector, Morgan Chase, Talemonga, Morgan, they all improved in that regard. So there's some excitement about that. And what it means is that the more IPOs you have, the more that the banks will gain. As for China released a trade surplus.
For August,
for August, yesterday. And basically, what the National Bureau of Statistics of China is telling us is that, look, this shows sign of improvement because things have gone up a little bit. CPI has gone up, other indicators have also gone up. So maybe the Foreign Ministry of China is right after all.
We shouldn't worry.
When he says, you people don't worry about China, stop your propaganda, we will get it right. Whether it's 5% or it's 5.5%. Yeah. As for the European Commission Bank, well, the key point about the European Commission Bank is that it was said, well, this has been the highest rate since 2021, when it was minus 0.5% interest rate. Now it is 4%.
4%, yeah.
But the point was made that there will be no further hikes. We all know that these inflation measurements, they are volatile,
Yep.
but the ECB is saying there will be no further hikes. There will be a pause going forward.
We'll see.
I think that's
We'll
the
see.
main story.
Main story, yeah,
But
we'll
we'll
take
see
a look. Yeah,
because
we'll
of the
see.
volatility of some of these factors. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Rotus.
thank you,
Thanks,
thank you.
Rotus. See you on Monday.
Monday, yes indeed.